was a nurse, and in Italy at that time, the government decides where these nurses go. So she was taking care of one person, and someone said, well, there's a person the next block down, whatever it is, who needs help. So my mother in Italy went to take care of this person. She took care of him, and finally she said, I have to come back again. She did go back again and took care of this man who turned out to be my father.
So that's how they met.
So she nursed my father before he was ever my father.
Mm-hmm.
But I said, okay, fine.
I didn't know that.
Pardon?
I didn't know that story.
Yeah. So
That's how they met.
anyway, what could I do?
Well, keep talking. That's what we're going to do. We're going to have you talk. So okay, you said you taught in New Jersey for 10 years.
Pardon?
You said you taught in New Jersey for 10 years.
Right.
I didn't know that. Where was that?
Bloomfield High School and Passaic High School.
Two different high schools.
Right.
Both chemistry?
Yes.
And how did you get from New Jersey to here? I don't know that story either.
Well, I was involved with a church group, and I wasn't happy with what was going on in New Jersey, so I was familiar with some of the people up here, and they said there's an opening in this high school, and also the college, OCC. I taught at the junior college.
Oh, I didn't know that either.
Yeah, and finally, I moved up, applied applications. They liked my resume, and I was hired on the spot.
And you were married at that time, right?
Pardon?
You were married
yeah.
then?
Married
No kids,
with
though.
children.
Oh, with children?
Oh, yeah.
All of them?
All of them.
They were all born in New Jersey?
Right.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. I didn't know where my mother was born. Okay. So you moved how did you move? What year was this? A 70? In the 70s?
In the 70s. I have it down somewhere, yes. In the mid-70s, yes.
How did that move go? How did you do that?
It was okay.
Yeah?
My brother, Anthony, I don't know if you remember him.
Sure.
Anyway, you're aware that he was in his backyard, and his son-in-law noticed that his glasses were hanging down. Says, he called him Tony. Tony, you're going to lose your glasses. He said, oh. At another occasion, my brother was walking in the backyard, and his shoes were not on. Tony, you're going to lose your shoes. He says, oh, what happened? He was losing feeling. Finally, a month later, he went to the hospital, was tested. He had a brain tumor, and a month later, he was gone.
Wow.
But what was interesting, we were Irish twins. Do you know what that is?
They don't.
Well, Irish twins are siblings who were born in the same calendar year. My brother and I were born in 1930. He was born January 30th. I was born December 8th. Mama was busy.
Yes, she was.
We're Irish twins, yes.
What's your mom's name?
Emily.
Emily.
Yeah, that's fine.
Well, she was, but of course, my wife was Antoinette.
Mhm.
So,
All right, I'm trying to write things down as you go. So I didn't know your mother's name either, Emily. And what your father's name?
Antonio,
Antonio.
but Tony.
Tony. Okay.
That's all we ever knew, Tony.
So your brother got his name, and then your nephew got his name,
Right.
and then his son also. Yeah.
Right.
Also.
We
Anthony?
have it's ridiculous. In an Italian family, half the men are
Oh, Anthony. Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, they said at a party, if they, hey Tony, come here, most of the men come.
Yep.
That's
My grandfather's sister was named actually Antoinette also, and they called her Tony.
Right.
Yep.
Right. And
That why the like the when people think of an Italian mob, it's always
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why. Yes. That's why. That's why. So you moved here in the 70s. Did you come right to this house?
pardon?
Did you come right to this house?
Yes. Well,
It's hard in the 70s to move to a brand new location and everything.
but it was during the summer. I was in school. I left. I gave my resignation, and I came up here. You know, with my resume, I applied. They liked the fact that I had all these science courses, and I remember the female who was in charge of that department. She said she interviewed me, looked over my resume, and she said, if you are accepted, when can you tell me whether or not you want the job? I says, right now. She says, you're accepted.
That's funny.
So
that was JD.
she was very interesting. She was elderly. She was getting ready to. She said she was a former English teacher who liked gardening, and she got her biology degree.
Oh.
And so she now became head of the department. But she helped me out a lot. So it was a very good experience. She was a teacher in her heart.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a job. So, but she helped me out a lot.
Sure. All right, so let me back up a minute. You said you moved in the 70s. You had been working for 10 years in New Jersey,
Right.
which would put you in the early 40s when
Right.
you moved, which meant that there's a gap there. So what happened in between you becoming an adult and starting teaching? You went to grad school, and then you were deployed.
Right.
So tell me a little bit about that. When did you graduate from your undergraduate degree?
Well, of course, I was also in the military.
Yeah. After grad school, right?
No, before. What happened is, at that time, men out of high school were being drafted into the military. But if you start school, which is what I did, college, you get military deferments. So I got a bunch of military deferments. So finally, I got my degree, and Uncle Sam says, you're in.
So that's after your undergrad degree.
Pardon?
After your undergraduate degree?
After I had my my graduate degree.
Okay. So where'd you go for undergraduate and graduate degrees?
Well, public school, Bloomfield and Passaic High School in New Jersey. Then I went to Montclair State College.
Okay. And you got both degrees there?
Then I got my master's degree there.
Okay. And then you went to, where were you deployed? Puerto Rico?
And then I was in the military 55 to 57 military.
And where?
Well, don't you hear about North Carolina? That's where I was. I was in North Carolina, and but I got out of there before they had this problem. People said, "Well, why don't you apply for, get some benefits?" I said, "I'm perfectly healthy. I can't."
Sure.
So I didn't. But anyway, I was at Camp Lejeune, which is it's a Marine base. However, once I was drafted into the military, they said, "Oh, you're a science guy. You're going to go to Corps school." I became a medic.
Okay.
And so what a lot of people were not aware of at the time, I was not, that the Navy supplied the Marines with medics. And so I used to wear a Marine uniform with Navy stripes.
Oh, okay.
So, but the Marines treated the medics like gods. I guess they figure in a time of war, they want to make sure. But no, being in the Marines was great. I mean, sometimes I was in the line with my tray to get food. They said, "Hey," they used to call me Doc. I was American. "Go to the head of the line." I said, "No, I'll take my turn." But one of the big gunny sergeant, he was built like a refrigerator. He said, "I said, get to the head of the line." I said, "Yes, sir." But being a medic was interesting. I was, I was in charge of all the medication, everything else. And I used to have guys come in and used to say, "I think you'll understand this. I'm not going to go into it. But a lot of these guys used to go out. They were free. They used to do their thing, come back and say, 'Hey, Doc, I need some penicillin.' I said, 'I can't give you any penicillin or antibiotic.' They says, 'I'll give you big bucks.' I says, 'I can't do." What happened is the person who took over the next duty when I was through, he was investigated. They went through inventory. He was giving out a little antibiotics. I says, "I'm not going to ruin my reputation." I don't know what happened to him, but that's so. But no, but for a while, my outfit was transferred to this island southeast of Puerto Rico. Vieques, the name.
Oof.
And it was in the Caribbean, and it was great service. Perfect humidity all year round. Once I was off duty, I used to strip down to my waist and just walk the beaches. It was great duty. And, I came back. I have a dark complexion. But down there, I got darker and darker. And then when I came back, they said, "You look like one of the natives."
That's funny.
I saw pictures of that in your book describing your life. Do you have a picture book of like stuff, pictures when you were in the military and stuff?
I didn't get.
We have a book, pictures of you and your life. Who put that together, Aunt?
I'm not sure.
I think
Oh.
Nana.
It's
Wait
not-
up, wait up.
Oh, I think he has one. Pause this.
Military.
Yes, that's the picture. That's the one you remember right there.
Yeah, that.
What was the name of that island again?
Vieques.
Vieques? Vieques?
Vieques. Vieques. And this island had coconut trees, and the natives, bare feet, used to climb that tree. I said, how did they do it? I don't know. But anyway, they used to drop the coconuts, and these are some of the guys. As they say, I was a Navy man, but in the Marines. Take a look.
Yeah,
sit
pass
down.
that around. Pass that around.
Yeah, don't forget
But they
to
said,
unplug.
did I see any action? No. I was as safe as we are right now.
Sure.
No. I was always on U.S. territory.
Yeah. And this was during the Korean War, when there was really
It was
nothing.
in between.
Oh, in between the Korean War and
Between
World War II then.
the Korean War and what's the other war?
Well, there was a few. It was on. Oh, was it after Korea? So it was between
After,
Korea. So it was between
right.
Korea and Vietnam then.
And yeah.
Okay.
But the island, Vieques, fantastic duty, perfect weather all year long. Once I was off duty, I was able to strip down to my waist and just walk the beaches.
That sounds nice.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good vacation spot, maybe.
Pardon?
Sounds like a good vacation spot right now.
Oh, yeah. As a matter of fact, there's a small village, and the Marines used to, when it was time to clean up, they used to take all their trash on a truck and take it to a big dump, still on the island, and all the natives, they used to see the truck go to the dump, but it was easy picking for them. And I used to hear them shout and whatever, but I had to go with the truck in case somebody got hurt. What I was trying to do was trauma. That's, I was not a nurse, I was take care of trauma, broken legs, broken arms. I did, the doctor that I worked under, on this island where the Marines were, they were taught hand-to-hand combat and whatever else. Every once in a while they used to get cut. They used to come to where I was. I was still under a doctor. I did a lot of suturing. I did a lot of sewing because that's what I was trying to do. And but what was interesting is when the dump truck used to go to the dump, I used to hear the natives shouting in their language. They used to come and go through the dump and used to get uniforms or whatever else, cans of food. They were. It was sad to see how poverty they were. I was sad, and you see little children, preteen, walking around naked.
Mm-hmm.
It was sad to see their living conditions, but it was an education. I said, let's in the U.S. let's thank God for what we have. What we have. So, but it's but it was, I do believe that every man, more than woman, should spend some time, not necessarily in the military, but serving the country. I'm saying, you want the guys in the military to protect you? Well, what are you doing in their place? Now, I believe that we all have a responsibility to give back something, whatever it is. If it's not the military, well, as a matter of fact, the fact I was in the military benefited me a lot. I get free eye care, free dental care. I don't get free dental care. Right now, I have 2 molars are going to be yanked.
Do you have some pliers? I can get them for you. You probably have some pliers in the basement. I can help.
No, when it was, no, as I say, I got benefit by being in the military.
Sure.
And the fact that I'm getting some retirement by being in the military. No, I believe apart from that, that all men and women in another category. I don't like the idea of women in the military. I can't conceive of hand-to-hand combat with a woman, and no, but to some degree, nurse or whatever, just give back something. So, but anyway, so
So you left there in 57.
right. So anyway,
And your oldest was born in 58?
pardon.
Your oldest daughter would be Ruth Ann.
Well, Ruth Ann
was born
is
on-
62, is it?
So she was born.
She says, "Dad, I'm getting older." I says, "You know, thank God you're able to reach that." I says, "Take a look at me."
Yeah.
I said, "If I didn't reach 92, I would have been gone a long time ago." So I'm blessed that I was able to reach 92.
Sure.
So
So you came back. You were married during the time you were deployed in with Vieques. You were married then, right?
no,
No.
I got married right after. What happened is, one of the doctors I worked on, he says, "You know, you're pretty good. Go to OCSS, Officer Candidate School, and you'll come back. You come out as an officer, and you know, good pay." I spoke to my fiance at that time and said, "Here's what I'm being offered." And she says, "How long?" I said, "I have to enlist for 4 years." And she says, "Forget it." The reason is, one of my relatives, who's now a dentist, he went through this, but he says the negative part of that is the family is at one base, they move from base to base. The kids don't get accustomed to a school system. They go from one school system to another. It's tough on the kids. And so she says, "Forget it." I says, "I agree." So right after I was discharged, I think 2 weeks later I was married. She did not want to wait.
That's awesome. And then you had Aunt Ruth Ann right away.
Right.
You would have had Aunt Ruth Ann then right away. She was born in 59 or 58, had to be.
Yeah,
So she was right there.
right.
So how did you? Okay, I'm skipping a couple steps. You left the military in 57, but you were already engaged. How did you meet Grandma?
Church.
You met her in church in New Jersey,
In New Jersey, church,
Okay.
right.
and you must have been dating seriously before you started teaching then.
I was working. I did not go to college directly. We did not have the money at that time, and I was working in a chem lab. There's another story there. I wanted a job so bad in that chem lab, I just didn't get it. But anyway, I worked in a chem lab, and I had a good job, and finally, that's when I went back to get my master's degree, and that's when I got married. Yes, that's when we got married. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
So what age were you when you met Graham in church?
pardon?
What age were you when you met Graham
Oh,
in church?
growing up,
So as a
little
teen.
kids, and
Oh,
well, I got married when I was 26.
26. Okay.
Oh yeah, I wasn't a kid. I was you know, I had a job, I had some education, and you know,
So you got married at 26.
yes.
So you're then it would be before you were discharged. You were discharged in 57. You said. So you're off by a year somehow.
Yeah, I was in the military 55, 57.
Okay.
And as soon as I got out of the military,
Right.
my wife says, we're getting married.
Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay. That's fun. And so then you moved here in the mid 70s or early 70s maybe?
Yes.
I suppose we could look that up.
I would have to look.
We could probably look it up.
You know,
It doesn't really matter.
I'm poor on that. You know
No,
who's
it's okay.
great? Ruth Ann.
Is she? She's pretty good.
Oh, she is. But anyway, so, you know, enlisted for another 4 years and having to move wherever I'm being moved.
Too much.
And to forget it. And
Now you left. I remember this story you told me long ago, when you left your car at Grandma's parents' house when you were on the island, right? You left your
Right,
car with them.
yes,
So I don't remember that story, but you remember the story about they tried to wash your car, right?
what?
They tried to wash your car while you were gone.
Oh, yes.
They would enjoy this. You tell them that story about them. You want to tell that story about them washing your car with dish soap?
Yeah, they were washing inside and out. Inside with the hoses. I said, you know how long it's going to take to dry? But it was funny. It was funny. But
All right, so you got to Syracuse, and you had all 3 of your kids already,
they were right.
and you got up
And
here.
as a matter of fact, after we moved, Naomi was seeing Ken.
Yeah,
Was seeing Ken.
yeah, that happened.
And what happened is that did not work out. And she already had children. So they moved in here.
That's me.
So anyway, they moved in, but now I have a daughter and 2 children. So we had to, one of the rooms had to be another bedroom. And so it was tight.
It was tight, but it was
tight.
it was tight, but it was safe and loving and peaceful.
But no, as a matter of fact, that's when I started to work on my master's. I said, I can't do it. I can't be a father and do school. I just couldn't do it. As a matter of fact, at the time, I was getting close to retirement of teaching, and I was being stressed. As a matter of fact, grading lab books or whatever else. And finally, I was at the kitchen table. Naomi was there. And I collapsed on the table. And I thought I was having a heart attack. But Naomi was holding my arm. We've got to call the doctor. I said, let's see. But it's just that it was exhaustion. I just collapsed. Finally, it was understood. I was not going to finish my doctorate, and But anyway, so where was I? I just continued to, teach, and as a matter of fact, I was out of school. Oh, I went to the hospital then,
Mm-hmm.
and went to the hospital, and John Stouffer,
Mm-hmm.
he was a good teacher, and he combined classes because we knew the way we worked, Maria, is the two of us used to sit down once or twice a week and arrange our schedule for the week. And so if what was going on in his class was going on in my class, and if I was out, they used combined classes and knew exactly what was going on. Likewise, the other way around. And finally, when I went to the hospital for a week after when I collapsed, he took over. He combined classes. They were going to get a substitute. They did get a substitute, but it's tough for a substitute to come in and do what you do. That's unrealistic. What a substitute will do, be a monitor.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway.
So this happened while we were living here, right? This collapse?
Yes.
So this was 1990 or 1991 or something like that.
Right, exactly.
And you retired just a few years after, 96 maybe? You retired very close after that.
That's all.
Yeah, it is, thank you.
So, but, so
And obviously it was lost.
and my wife says, "Are you going back to your doctorate?" I said, "No." I said, I can't. I mean, I actually collapsed. I could not do it anymore. I said my responsibility was taking care of my family, and so.
Your wife and your daughter and your grandchildren in the same house.
And I need kids, of course. I had daughters. They needed a father figure. They needed a family. And if I were busy with schoolwork, I could not have done. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I ever would have made it to get my doctorate. It's out of the question.
Yeah. You would have had to abandon your family.
Well, that's it. And
It's not worth it.
so. But anyway, but here I am.
Yeah.
And no, I'm glad right now. My 3 daughters, I'm glad what happened to your mother, Naomi. Ray is a good person. They're stable. That's what I wanted. I want them to have a stable relationship. They're stable. They're all stable, productive. They're able to pay their bills and so on. And so, but you know that let me get my family straightened out. That Natalie, that's Ruth Ann's daughter, married. He's an engineer. By the way, you're what, a mechanical engineer?
That's right.
Okay, he's a mechanical engineer too. He's a very good, responsible job. He got the big car that they give him, a Cadillac, and he's let's see, Rebecca's son. She married a son. He became an engineer, mechanical engineer. Good job, but he did not. He said, "All I'm doing is working at a computer." And somebody said, most engineers do that. He says, I can't stand it. So he left being an engineer. He left a good job. And you know what he does now? Landscaping. And he has a booming business.
He's doing great. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Ben you're talking about.
Pardon?
This is Ben.
Ben,
Right? Yeah.
right.
Sure.
He does landscaping. He's in demand. He's making more money
Yep.
now than he did. But his wife is also, she has a very good job.
Mm-hmm.
She's, I don't know, she said she's a technician. You know, you go in and you go with these devices, you go through a tube, being x-rayed and everything else. She was number one in her class. And so she has, so Ken is benefiting. He has, you know, a good wife
Sure.
who's responsible, and so he doesn't want to do engineering.
No, but Ben of course had that moment in high school where he was just about failing out of school.
Oh, right.
And then they finally figured out that he was dyslexic. He went from being a D student to an A student in 1 year.
That's exactly right.
And he went on to get his engineering degree.
He got his engineering
Immediately
degree.
did very well. And I think he wanted to
As
do
a matter
it
of
to
fact-
prove that he could do it.
He came to me for help.
Yeah.
He was working on, we had a calculus course. He said, can you help me? I said, yeah. Then he took calculus too.
Mm-hmm.
But I needed a book in addition. I couldn't remember all that stuff.
Sure.
Then, I said, then he took calculus 3.
Look at 3.
He
Sure.
said, I said, forget it. I'm not going to go back and take the course all over.
Those get hard. Those math classes get hard.
So,
I did them
but
too.
anyway, no, but
He's a smart man.
he finally got his act together.
He did.
Well, you know what that is.
Yep. I do.
He said, what?
He had to, I think he proved to everyone that he's very bright. And he
Oh,
needed to do
right.
that to for himself.
You know, I was teaching part-time at OCC.
Yep.
And a lot of the people in that class that I was teaching, they were not high schoolers. Many of them were out of the military. They were working on a degree. They were serious, and they were also paying. They were serious about being in school, and so there wasn't any fooling around.
Right.
They
were there. They
were
paid
there.
for it.
Many of them were married with children,
Yep.
going to school. So teaching at OCC, the college level, was so easy. And but in high school, I used to have one boy. He used to say, I could see that his parents were feeding. He said, Mr. Polichemi, I'm going to be a doctor, so I need an A in this course. I said, I'll be rooting for you.
Okay, so that brings us. I'm going to rewind again, because there's a period of your life in between 1930 and 50 something when you graduated high school that you haven't talked about yet. Tell us about your early childhood when you were the firstborn here of Italian immigrants.
Well, I was not. The first one was my brother.
That's right, Anthony was first.
Anthony. I mentioned we're Irish twins. Yeah, he was 1930. He was born December 30th. I December 8th. 10 months, 8 days apart.
Yep.
Anyway, well, my father at the time, he was an immigrant. He came over because there wasn't any work in Italy. And they came from the southern part of Italy, the Toe, Calabria. And the Toe was, you know, the reputation in the U.S. that the South has? Well, that was Italy. The Northerners look upon the Southerners, you know, and but my father, they did not have any work. So my father and three boys, three brothers, came to the U.S. as laborers. Work was available. So, but my father said that's not what he wanted to do, and so he started to work. He worked as a laborer, but he also worked part-time in a shoe shop where they were making and repairing shoes. Finally, one thing led to another. He became very a Jew lawyer took my father under his wing and directed him how he could buy a business. And he finally, we saved all his money, he bought a business, went into hock, and he bought a thriving shoe business in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And that's where I went to school at Rutgers.
Okay.
And so all summers, even on weekends, we used to go to the shop and work. But at the time, I was still a teenager. I was shining shoes. But there was a military base there, Camp Kilmer. And a lot of there were men coming from overseas, coming into town, and they were hot to trot. They wanted to hit the town, meet some girls or whatever else. Finally, they used to come to the shop, shine shoes. At that time, shoe shine was 10 cents. A nickel went for the register, a nickel the shoe shine boy came. But these military men, as I say, they wanted to hit the town, so they, on a Saturday, I used to go home with like $25, $30. That was big money then.
Yeah.
That was big money. And we used to turn it over to my mother, and we used to get $5. Well, I felt I was contributing to the family.
Yeah.
And finally, we got older. I began to repair shoes, working on these big machines. I felt I was doing the man's work, and I was. And finally, well, that's when my brother also, Anthony, my younger brother Joe, he wanted to run the business, but he wasn't into repair work. He wanted to be an administrator.
Oh, sure. I want to be in charge. Okay.
But anyway, so in my 10 years, I was in New Brunswick, working in my father's shop, and going to school part-time. I didn't go directly into college. Things were tight financially. But my older sister, she was a big, she was born in Italy. She came to the U.S. when she was 8 years old. She was, my sister, she was very bright. She graduated #1 in her high school, had a year off because Papa said, no, girl, no. But anyway, but she's the one who said, you boys are going to, she was my senior, she was 11 years my senior. She wasn't not only a big sister, she says, you boys, you were my first family. Now, she has 2 children, both have their doctorates.
Oh, wow.
You know, one is a professor at Massachusetts College, The other is in business, having a half dozen people under her.
Really? These are your nephew and niece we're
Pardon?
talking about. Your nephew and niece?
Chris, he's a professor.
Okay.
He has his doctorate. Lynn, she runs a business, her own business. She has her doctorate. They both have their PhDs. And, but she's the one who said, you boys are going to, she was 11 years my senior. If I was a teenager, she was in her 20s.
Yeah.
So she said, you boys are going to college. And we used to give her a hard time. She said, she said to me once, says, don't you sass me. She says, I wipe your rear end. She said, and I'll let everybody know what I did. She said, you won't. I said, you won't do that. I said, she said, she had the same bullheadedness as my father. She was tough, but she gave me good direction. And
Now, where was she born?
pardon?
Was she born here in New Jersey?
No,
She was
in
born in
Italy.
Italy. So your dad came here by himself.
Pardon?
Your dad came here by himself initially, right? When he first came over? Your father? When he came to New Jersey, he came by himself?
He came by himself.
Right. And so then he had to go back to get
Finally,
your sister and your mother.
my mother, when she was a midwife, she was earning enough. So 8 years after my father moved, she was able to afford transportation for her and her daughter, Lydia. People say, where did that name come from? Well, my mother was a reader, and she said, where did Hugo come from? And, Anthony, of course, I had another brother, Hugo, Ugo, and he was born, I have it down somewhere, like 2 years before Anthony was born. And so, however, when my mother was pregnant with me, Hugo, we don't have the story straight, either diphtheria or whooping cough, he died. And my mother wanted to carry the name, Hugo, and so that's where I get.
So he died at 1 or 2 years old?
Pardon?
Was he 1 year old or 2 years old? Was he that old?
I think 1.5 years old.
1.5?
Yes, he died, and so yeah, and as I say, so my mother was pregnant with me when he died, so she wanted to carry the name, and
Wow, so she had a baby also when he died, because Anthony
Right.
was, yeah.
right, Anthony.
So, yeah, it would have been like, if he hadn't died, he would have had 3 in 2 years or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, non-stop. Yeah.
Wow.
So
Okay. Your sister's Lydia, right?
Lydia.
She's
my,
still
my
alive?
mother was a reader.
Is Lydia still alive?
Pardon?
Is Lydia still alive?
No, she died. She had, when she was 85, she had a brain tumor, and she was bedridden 5 years. I used to speak to her on the phone. It was very, very difficult. She was a teacher. She was very active. She was very bright. She said, you don't know how difficult it is to sit in a room and watch this trash on TV. She says, there's nothing stimulating. So she did a lot of reading for 5 years. But her daughter, Lynn, who has a doctorate, took her in her home, took care of her for 5 years, and it was tough speaking to her on the phone. I used to hang up and I used to cry
Oh.
because it was. She says, there's nothing to stimulate yourself on. She said, there's nothing in TV. She used to do a lot of reading, used to get videos. Before she got her brain tumor, she was very active in book reading and teachers associations. But 85, things didn't go down. It was a tough period. But her daughter, who has her doctorate, is she was just up here. A couple weeks ago.
Really?
Yeah, we went. Her daughter.
Yeah.
And we went to. She was past. Her daughter used to go to Canada. They have a lot of theater programs.
Oh, in Toronto.
Right.
So her daughter must be almost 70.
Oh, more than that.
Really? Okay.
Oh yeah, and she on the way back, she wanted to stop and see me, and the other, and
Wow.
it's just so good to see her. Yeah.
So, your siblings, Lydia, Anthony, both gone. So it's just you now.
Right. And now I have a brother in Florida he's retired, not doing anything, but he also has a great daughter whose family, well, my brother Joe in Florida,
Joe, okay.
his wife died. And so his daughter, Joe's daughter, is taking care of her. And I speak to him once a week. And,
Okay.
And he, I said, what do you, he's not, he's kind of a semi-invalid. I said, get off your rear end. I said, and they have a pool. Get in the pool and do some leg exercises. They said, what do I do? I don't know.
I saw it.
You see the my exercise bike that my daughter.
Yeah.
I'm on that almost every day
That's fantastic.
for 20 minutes. They said, how do you do it? I says, I have to condition. I look upon it as medicine.
It is.
I've got to take it.
Yep.
And they said, how do you do it? I says, I have to condition my. I said, it's easy to get up in bed. I said, do I really want to do that today? I said, I better do it today.
Yeah.
And so I guess I'm on it about 5-6 times a week. I do for 20-25 minutes, and I want the blood to circulate. You know.
It's supposed to.
Yeah, I said inactivity is deadly. I told Joe, get to that pool, move those legs. You don't have to swim, but move those legs. There are water exercises you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I sound like a broken record. He says, all right, brother, okay.
So he's how much younger is he than you?
A year and 3 months.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Wow.
So we're very
Keep going.
well, Maria. Well, my father, he was away from home. Well, for 8 years. When he came to the U.S., I guess he got busy, and then the first Anthony came, then Anthony, then me, then Joe, then my sister Mary. I'm 5 years older than my sister Mary.
Okay. I'm writing this down. I'm curious. All right. Now, let's see. What about your mother? You ever talked about your mother at all?
Oh, well, my mother, a typical Italian immigrant. My mother was a midwife. A lot of the paisanos, you've heard that term? paisano is a paisano literally is a person from the same town that you. Paisan in Italy is a village. Paisano is a person who comes from the same village. And in Italy, a paisano means a lot more than one come from the same. It's almost almost it's understood like a very, very close friend.
Okay.
Very, you know, they're like, the Italians come, they all stick together. But my mother was one of the few, she had her degree, one of the few literate ones who came. As a result of which, all the other paisanos used to come to our house, I remember, with a letter from Italy, and they used to say, legge, read. They were almost completely illiterate. Used to read, my mother used to read, explain, she said, now scriva, now write back. And so we had this in our family very frequently. All the paisani used to come with a letter from Italy. They could not read, or they used to read and write back. And but she was a very helpful immigrant. As I say, she was one of the few literate ones.
Mhm.
So
And she could speak English and Italian.
yes, she was also a reader. She used to pick up the Reader's Digest and used to read. And my father used to say, sempre reader, you're always reading. My mother, I guess that's where I get from. I do my reading all the time. I don't know what I would do without it.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was my mother's life, and she one of the things she did do when my father got the shop. We lived in Jersey City. New Brunswick was about half-hour drive away. My father, once he got his shop, used to drive back and forth, and that's when we began to go to the shop and learn the business, and but finally, my father bought a house in New Brunswick where the shop was, and that's where we moved to New Brunswick, and that's where I went to school.
Okay.
So, but what my mother's is, she was a typical Italian housewife. All she did was cook, take care of her children, that was her life.
Did she keep working as a midwife?
Pardon?
Did she still work as a midwife?
No, she tried. They wanted her to go back, take some courses here, and my father says, no, he wanted his wife to stay at home. That was typical male.
Mm-hmm.
I support the family,
Yeah.
but that didn't happen. But my mother's life was being a mother, and one of the things she did do was every month her children were within driving distance. Every month she wanted her family to go to New Brunswick as a family, and so every once in a while, every month used to go there and be a family. And I remember my mother had this big pot of tomato sauce, bacon spaghetti, and we used to go with a slice of bread, and she couldn't keep up with us. It was almost like pizza, putting this tomato sauce on a slice of bread.
You guys will never experience this. This will never be something you see in an Italian kitchen with fresh made tomato sauce on the stove and fresh made bread.
Sad.
Yeah, that was typical. We used to go slice of bread, and she says, "Ancora." She says, "Again?" but you know, she loved it though.
Sure.
She enjoyed it.
Sure. They're providing in their own way. They're providing. They're showing their love.
Oh yeah. So,
Graham used to do the same thing.
but that's what she did. That was her life. That was her life. Her life was being a mother, but also she benefited a lot of the immigrants, because she was one of the, to my knowledge, in our circle of friends, she was the only literate one, and she had books in English and Italian, and so she loved to read. I think that's where I get her from, and
Sure.
That was her life. I mean,
Now, at some point, you and your brother Anthony started working in construction. I know you've told stories about
right,
tarring roofs
right.
and putting in carpentry doors and railings and things. When did you leave the cobbler shop and start working on that sort of thing with your brother? And was it just the two of
Well,
you?
My brother Anthony, he was also a reader. He read.
Nathaniel, that's probably our lunch.
Oh.
Could you help me grab it while I'm sitting here? Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Chris. Lunch is arriving, but keep talking.
Oh,
We'll pause it when we get it inside. Or should we stop now?
my brother, he got a couple of books on electricity, and he learned how to wire homes. I mean, it wasn't. He was. Put it on the table.
Yeah.
He was more than just handy. You know, he knew the wire in a home. You know, people hook up a wire, they're completely ignorant how much current that's going to take, and or you can hook up anything to it, you know.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so he became skilled, and he had he was also peach in industrial arts, but he was making more money doing home repairs, electrical, plumbing, and whatever. And I used to work part-time for him.
So you worked for your brother? He was your boss?
Pardon?
Your brother was your boss
Yeah,
then?
right.
Oh,
He was,
okay.
yeah. And yeah. But my younger brother, Joe, younger, a little over a year and 3 months, I enjoyed the physical activity, you know, and then when I took a couple of, physics in high school, you learn some circuitry,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the physical activity. It made sense to me. Like I could wire a home. I'm not good on machinery, but you know, the current and exactly the size of your circuit breaker or something like that, that made sense to me. But I did not go beyond that.
So did your brother Anthony work in the shoe shop also?
Growing up until
Yeah.
finally, as a matter of fact, he finally opened up a shoe shop.
Your brother did?
Yes,
Oh,
Anthony.
I didn't know that.
He opened up a shoe shop, but he said that's not for him. And also, it was beginning to be a dying trade, because especially women did not want their shoes repaired. They want new shoes. New shoes. And so he said they used to make his money repairing men's shoes. lawyers and, people who had money. But women, he says, no. What they wanted was, they used to come in, have the shoe dyed the same color as the gown. And so, but he said no. Finally, he was teaching, doing repair work, but he finally left teaching and did nothing but, and his son lives up here.
Also Anthony. Yeah.
Anthony, and his son had a thriving home repair. In fact, he was building homes, multi-million-dollar homes. I mean,
Building them like a contractor?
oh yeah, he was the contractor,
Okay.
and he had a crew working for him. So
So that's your nephew.
my nephew,
Anthony.
right? Anthony's son. Anthony had 3 children. One was Anthony. One was Janet. Janet is she's a retired teacher. And Angela. And Angela is retired, but she was working some outfit and doing okay. Doing fine.
Grandpa, I wore out your pen. It's coming back. There we go. Anthony. I wore out your pen for a minute, but it came back. Angela
And Janet.
and Janet. All still alive for you now, right?
Sorry?
All still alive now.
Oh, yes.
All 3 of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Janet is. Anthony's up here doing. Oh, he's retired.
Probably retired, yeah.
Oh, he was in demand because they liked his work. As a matter of fact, he said he worked for a lawyer, husband and wife. The husband was a lawyer. The wife was a doctor. They had a multi-million-dollar home that he built for them. He says the big headache was the wife. They wanted this and wanted, but she wanted changes going along. But every time you make a change,
It changes everything.
yeah. But anyway, yeah.
All right.
So anyway.
Well, let's pause and let's get some lunch. And then we'll pick it up in a